திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். புழியர்கோன் வெப்பொழித்த புகழியர்கோன் கடல் போற்றி. ஆழிமிசை கல் மிதப்பில் அணைந்த பிரான் அடி போற்றி. வாழி திரு நாவலூர் வன்றொண்டர் பதம் போற்றி. ஊழிமலி திருவாத ஊரர் திருத்தாள் போற்றி. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். So today we are going to look at Sundarar's thevaram, padhigam 7.1, pittā piṛaisūḍī. In that, before we go into the padhigam, we will talk about the background and talk about Sundarar for a few minutes. Sundarar was born as the son of Svacharya, meaning a temple priest, in a place called Tirunāvalur. And this Tirunāvalur is about 150 kilometers south of Chennai. He was born maybe about 100 to 150 years after Samandar's time. So Samandar was around 600 Common Era, and Sundarar was somewhere in the 700s, maybe 720, maybe 750, in that range, about 100, 150 years after Samandar. That is Sundarar's time. And as we said, he was a son of a temple priest. His father was Sadayanar, and his mother was Isaiñāniyar. And when he was about, let's say, 2.5 to 3.5 years old, he was playing in the street outside their house. Like you know how kids play, right? They have these various toys, and they will be pulling something, running around. So he was playing in the street outside the house, on the street. And the local king, his name was Narasingha Munai Arayar. And the local king was going to the temple, and he saw this young child playing on the street, and instantly, he developed a bond for the child. So he wanted to see if he can raise him as his, foster son. So he talked to the father, Sadayanar, and said, hey, I'm very eager to raise him as my child. Do you agree? And the father, maybe they had a close friendship or whatever. So the father agreed. So Sundarar grew up in the local king's palace as his foster son. So Sundarar, he was a son of a priest, but he is a foster son of the adopted son or foster son, whatever you want to call it, of the king. So he learnt both the Brahminical education, like Vedas and other things, and he also learnt things that a prince will learn, like riding a horse, fighting, all those kind of the princely kind of training. So he had both kinds of training. And when he was about, let's say, in those days, the people will get married at a young age, not like today. So the boys will get married around 16, something like that, and the girls will get married around 13, something like that. So when he was about 16 or so, they decided to get him married. And because he is the son of the priest, so they looked for a compatible girl, and they found a girl of another Vedic scholar in a village about, let's say, 10-15 kilometers away. And they agreed that for the wedding, and they set the date for the wedding, and they sent out invitations to all the people, because not only they will have to send to their families and friends, but because he's a sort of a prince, so they also sent to many other the people who are associated with the king. So there was a big wedding was set in the girls' town, which is about, let's say, village, which is about, let's say, 10-15 kilometers away. So on the day of wedding, all the people had gathered, and they were all going through the rituals for a wedding. And as you know, the weddings in south, in Tamil Nadu and other parts of the regions, the wedding is usually held in the morning, around maybe, depending on the muhurtam, it may be at 7 o'clock, it may be at 9 o'clock, whatever, right? So wedding is in the mornings. And when they were getting ready, going through the rituals, an old man comes into the wedding hall. Very old man. He is having a walking stick in his hand. His body is. So as we were saying, the wedding was rituals were going on in the morning, and at that time, a very old man with a walking stick in his hand, with his body shaking, he walks into the wedding hall. And he comes and says, that there is there's a dispute between him and the bridegroom, and he says that bridegroom is his slave, and he has no right to marry without his permission. So then everybody is shocked. If you can imagine the kind of chaos that will create when you are ready, when you're in the wedding, and somebody says, comes into the hall and says, "Stop the wedding," kind of noise. And there's a lot of commotion. And sundarar comes to where the old man is and looks at him and hears his claim that that he is his slave. And then he sort of sarcastically laughs and says, "Hey, are you mad? Are you a crazy person? Everybody knows that I'm the son of this priest, I'm the son of this king, and you come into this wedding hall and making big racket. Get out." And of course, that old man says, "I am not going anywhere. You are my slave." And he says, people ask him, why do you say these kind of wild claims? And he says, "I have proof. I have, his grandfather has given me a deed, signed a deed, saying that he and all his descendants are my slaves." And then everybody says, "What?" And then Sundarar says, "Are you really mad? Because we have nobody has ever heard of a Brahmin being a slave of another Brahmin. So what kind of a nut are you?" And he says, "You can call me anything. You can call me crazy. You can call me fool. You can call me anything. I don't care. You are my slave." And he says, "No, I have this proof." And he is holding a palm leaf manuscript in his hand. He says, I have the proof. Your grandfather has given me this deed." Then Sundarar runs after him to grab it, and he runs away from Sundarar. And after running around in the commotion, Sundarar grabs hold of that manuscript. He doesn't even read it. He just tears it and throws it into the fire and says, "Now that there's no deed, get away." And then the old man makes a big noise and says, just by the fact that he took my manuscript, the deed, and destroyed it, proves that he is the slave. And so there's a lot of commotion and noise, and finally everybody says, "Let's settle this." And then Sundarar says, "Okay, let's go to the local court and settle it." And then that old man says, "Okay, let's go to my place. My place is about 5 kilometers or so away from here. A place called tiruvenney, nallūr. Let's go there. Let's go to the local court and get justice." So they all go. So Sundarar goes. Imagine that it is 8:30 in the morning, right? Sundarar is all decked up as a bridegroom. So he goes, the old man goes, and others go. And they go to the tiruvenney, nallūr village. And the village elders gather, and then they ask, "What is the dispute? What is the thing?" And the old man says, "This Sundarar is my slave." And the Sundarar says, he is making wild claims. He is probably crazy. And so the the village elders in the court, they ask, okay, now that you are making this claim, if you are claiming something, you need to have proof. So show me one of three kinds of proof. They say either you have to have physical possession for a long time, or you have to have a well documented deed, or you have to have solid witnesses. So which of the three do you have that you can use to establish your claim that he is your slave? Then the old man says, this Sundaran's grandfather has given me the deed. The deed that the Sundaran destroyed in the wedding hall was a copy. I have the original version safely with me. I can show it to you. And but you have to promise me that the Sundaran will not destroy this again. So the court agrees, and then the old man takes out another palm leaf manuscript and says, this is the original. And the village court looks at it and says, okay, is this handwriting your grandfather's? So they show it to Sundarar. But old man says, don't show it to him. He is a party to the dispute, so he cannot show it to him. This Sundaran's grandfather would have written other documents, buying, selling, mortgaging, whatever they would have had, right? In the villages, they would have, you would have bought land, you would have sold land, you would have bought a house, you would have taken a loan, whatever you would have done. There will be other deeds in the village safe house. So you go get some other documents that his grandfather had written and compare the handwriting and do a handwriting analysis and decide whether it is, say, him or somebody else. So they send people to Tirunavallur, bring some copies of documents that his Sundaran's grandfather had written. They compare the handwriting and it's exactly the same. So the village elders agree that the palm leaf manuscript, the deed that the old man is showing, is the original deed written by Sundarar's grandfather, and they give the judgment that the deed is valid and Sundarar is this old man's slave. That's the judgment that is given. So Sundarar is obviously, is shocked. He was a prince and he was going to get married this morning, and now suddenly, in a matter of a few hours, he has become a slave of an old crazy man. So he was, obviously, you can imagine his feelings at the time. And then the village elders have a question for the old man. He says, you claim to be from our village, but none of us have ever seen you here before. Where do you live? What is your house? Show it to me. Show it to us. So the old man says, oh, is that so? Come with me, I will show you. So the old man goes, Sundarar walks behind him, the village elders come behind them, and the old man goes to the local temple. And as he's going to the local temple, everybody starts wondering again, is he really crazy? He says he will take me to his house, but he is taking us to the local temple. And then the old man enters the temple, Sundarar follows him, others follow him, and then the old man vanishes. And then he appears as Shiva and Parvati and Vrishabha to Sundarar. Only then Sundarar realizes that Shiva came as the old man to make him his slave. Then is so, from, you can imagine, right? From despondency and dejection, he suddenly goes into very extreme ecstasy. And Shiva tells him that, in your previous position, you asked me to come and save you. That's why I came and stopped you and saved you. And then Sundarar gets the knowledge of what happened, right? Because the background to this is Sundarar was in Kailasam as a close servant or a devotee of Shiva in Kailasam. He was holding the bowl in which the holy ash is kept. and he was that kind of a close servant of Shiva in Kailasam. And one day, when he went to the garden to pick flowers, there were a couple of servants of Uma who were picking flowers, and he looked at them, they looked at him. They had some kind of a feeling, that they were attracted to each other, one another. So then they all came back to their, Shiva. They went to the Uma, and Sundarar comes back to Shiva. But Shiva knows what happened. So Shiva says, since you desired those two women, go to Bhulokam and get married, enjoy them, and come back. And Sundarar is, you can imagine what will be the feeling. If you are in Kailasam as a servant of Shiva, and he says, go take a birth in Bhulokam, then you can imagine what kind of feeling they will have. So he is saying, as you say, I have to go to Bhulokam, I will have to do it. But when I go to Bhulokam and I get married and get into this worldly life, I will totally forget you. Please come and save me before I get immersed in this mithya, in this worldly cycle. Shiva says, okay, don't worry, I will come and save you. And so he says, as I told you then, I came and saved you today. So Sundarar is so happy. So Sundarar says, okay, now tell me, I'm your slave, what should I do? So Shiva says that, for me, Archana is singing praises. So you go around, sing my praises. And Sundarar says, Shiva, oh Lord, I don't know how to sing, I don't know how to praise you. I don't know what to do. So Shiva says, remember the word you called me when I was in the wedding hall? You called me pittā. Start with that. Start singing pittā. So that's how he starts singing the first padhigam, pittā piṛaisūḍī. The Sundarar's life is very amazing one. A lot of great things happen in his life. And as we go through his padhigams, we will see some of them. In Periya Puranam, his story is covered in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. And Sundarar, later on we will see, he sings a padhigam called the tiruvenney, in which he lists names of various devotees and says that he is a devotee of them, he is a servant of them. And that list is what gives rise later to Periya Puranam, and that is the list of devotees that he mentions in the tiruvenney are considered the 63 Nayanmars. So if you go to Shiva temples in south, in Tamil Nadu area, in every Shiva temple you will find, in the Prakaram, you will find the 63 Nayanmar Vigrahams. And their stories are described in Periya Puranam, and their names were given to us by Sundarar in his tiruvenney. So Sundarar is having a very special place in the list of devotees. So that is the background. If there are any comments or thoughts, we can discuss now.
No.
Okay. If not, we will go through the padhigams. And Ramakrishna, I think you can follow with me.
Yeah.
And we can do that. So it's the 7.1.1.
Yeah.
pittā
piṛaisūḍī
perumāṉē aruḻāḻā ettāṉ maṛavādē niṇaikkiṇḍrēṉ maṉattuṇ్ణai vaittāy peṇṇait teṉbāl veṇṇey nallūr
aruṭṭuṟaiyuḻ
attā uṉakku āڵāy ini allēṉ
ini allēṉ
eṇalāme.
eṇalāme.
Very good. So in this padhigam, in every song, he is going to say uṇakku āڵāy ini allēṉ eṇalāme. What that phrase means is that I have already become your slave, and in spite of having become your slave already, how can I say that I am not your slave anymore? How can I say now that I am not your slave? Is it right? Is it appropriate? Is it proper? So it's like a rhetorical question. I am already your slave, I am always your slave, and now I had claimed that I am not your slave. How can I do this? Is it, that kind of rhetorically is expressing, how could I have said this? That kind of a thing. So we will look at the phrases. Pittā. Pittā means, literally, the common meaning is pittā. Pittā means craziness, madness, or extreme fondness. And in Telugu or Kannada, the same root is used. In Telugu, it may be called pichivadu or pichi, and in Kannada, it will be called huchu. So the same meaning means mad or crazy. But here, the word pittan means somebody who has got extreme love. We use it even in our common language, right? He is madly in love with something. That kind of thing. He is cricket mad. He is cinema crazy. That kind of thing, we say that, right? Like that. Somebody who has got extreme love, extreme affection for something, we refer it to as madly in something. Madly in love, madly enough, madly, that kind of thing. So, the word pittan here means Lord who has extreme amount of love for us. And again, he has this love, but there is no reason for it. Right? If you have if you like something and if you do something and there is a reason for it, then we can understand. He has got this infinite love for the beings for no reason. So that's the simple meaning of the word pittan. The Lord who has got who has got infinite love for all beings. And this is a word pittan used as a name for the Lord. And we have this different sahasranamams and other things, right? Vishnu sahasranamam, Lalita sahasranamam, or Subramanya sahasranamam, and so on and so forth, right? The word pittan, or this kind of a word, is used only for Shiva. That's a unique name for Shiva, pittan. So that is how Sundarar starts singing pittā. But in the wedding hall, he called the Shiva who came as an old man, "Oh fool, oh crazy fellow," right? There he meant in the common parlance. Like, if somebody comes says something, totally foolish and it's totally crazy idea, right? That old man, some unknown old man coming to the wedding hall and calling the prince my slave. That's the kind of thing that a really mad person will do. And so when he called, "Are you crazy?" he really meant it in that kind of a normal crazy person kind of approach. But here, when he is singing pittā, he means Shiva who has got infinite love. So pittā, piṛaisūḍī. Pirai is the crescent moon. Sūdu means to wear. Sūdi means one who is wearing. So piṛaisūḍī means one who is wearing the crescent moon. Means Chandrasekharan. Shiva who is wearing crescent moon on his head. So piṛaisūḍī is a Tamil word which means Chandrasekhara. So pittā again we said O Lord of infinite love. piṛaisūḍī, O Chandrasekhara. perumāṉē. Perumān means Lord. That's a common word that you will find in many thevaram songs, in many other songs. Perumān. So perumāணē means O Lord. aruḷāḻā. Arul means grace. Equivalent word in Sanskritam is karuna. aruḻāḻā. All means one who has got infinite, one who is the source of all grace, who has got infinite grace. So aruḻāḻā means O Lord of infinite mercy. Karunamurti, O Karunamurti. That's what it means, aruḻāḻā. Then he says, ettāṉ maṛavādē niṇaikkiṇḍrēṉ maṉattu uṉṇai. This, you have to rearrange some words to make common sentence structure. Maṇattu uṉṇai maṇattu ettāṉ maṛavādē niṇaikkiṇḍrēṉ. That means uṉṇai is you. Maṇattu means in my mind. ettāṉ maṛavādē niṇaikkiṇḍrēṉ. Niṇaikkiṇḍrēṉ means I remember you, I think of you. Maṛavādē means without ever forgetting. ettāṉ means in any manner. So ettāṉ maṛavādē niṇaikkiṇḍrēṉ maṇattu uṉṇai. That phrase means I always think of you without forgetting in my mind. Right? I always think of you in my mind without ever forgetting you in any manner. So till he was, we can assume that because he was a son of a Shiva temple priest, and he learned Vedas, Agamas, and all that. So he would have learned all the scriptures and he would have done worship and all that. But he was also prince, so he was doing other princely education as well, right? So, but he probably was not that way. But now that he has received God's grace, all is in his mind, all that he remembers, all he remembers now is only Shiva's grace and his love for Shiva. So that's what he is saying in this line, that I always remember you without ever forgetting. And why he says that? Maṇattu uṉṇai vaittāy. So in my mind, you put yourself. Right? I didn't do this. You came and you are dwelling in my mind. Maṇattu uṉṇai vaittāy. Vaittal means to place, to keep, to put. So you put yourself in my mind. Maṇattu uṉṇai vaittāy. Then he is saying, peṇṇait teṉbāl veṇṇey nallūr aruṭṭuṟaiyuḻ attā. Attā means father. Attā means O father. And the peṇṇait teṉbāl veṇṇey nallūr aruṭṭuṟaiyuḻ. That has three pieces of information. Peṇṇai is a river that flows near tiruvenney nallūr. So the name of the river is called the peṇṇai. I think it may be called the peṇṇāru, that kind of words. So peṇṇai is the name of the river. teṇbāl means on the southern bank. Ten is south, pāl means side. teṇbāl means on the southern side. veṇṇey nallūr, that is the name of this village. veṇṇey nallūr is the name of the village where Sundarar is there and where the temple is there, where he is singing this song. aruṭṭuṟai. Aruṭṭuṛai is the name of the temple. I think I may have mentioned in discussing other padhigams that we would have names for the temples in different places. So for example, Thillai is the name of the town, and Chidambaram or Chitrambalam is the name of the temple. In Mylapore, the town is Mylapore, the temple is Kapalishwaram. Like that, in Tiruvenney nallūr, the town is Veṇṇey nallūr, and the temple is aruṭṭuṟai. Aruḻ-turai. Together they become aruṭṭuṟai because of sandhi. So aruḻ-turai means arul, we already saw in the first word. Arul means grace, karunai. So Shiva's karuna, arul, and turai is where you enter. So the place where you enter a river or the place where you enter the sea is called a turai. So here is a turai, is a path or a entry place where you come and you get the grace. So this is the place where you get Shiva's grace, aruḻ-turai. So peṇṇait teṉbāl on the southern banks of the Peṇṇai river, veṇṇey nallur in the town of veṇணey nallur, aruṭṭuṛai in the temple aruṭṭuṛai, aruṭṭuṟaiyuḻ in the temple, attā, O father. So the father dwelling in the aruḻṭuṛai temple in veṇணey nallur on the southern bank of Peṇṇai river. O father, uṇakku allāய். Uṇakku allāய் means I am already your slave. All is slave. Uṇakku means to you. I am already your slave. Uṇakku allāய். Ini, now. Allēṉ, I am not. eṇal āme, is it right? So I am already your slave. Uṇakku allāய். Ini allēṉ eṇal āme. Allēṉ means I am not. So I am already your slave, and now how can I say that I am not your slave? That is what he is saying. So he is describing several calling. The song is directly addressing Shiva. O merciful Lord, O Chandrasekhara, O Lord, O Karunamurti, I always remember you in my mind. I am always thinking of you. You have established yourself in my mind. O Father, dwelling in the aruḻ-turai temple in veṇணey nallur on the southern banks of Peṇṇai river, I am always your slave. I am already your slave. Is it proper that I am disputing that and claiming that I am not your slave? Is it right? Is it proper? How can I do this? That's how he sings the first song. So if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, we can discuss. No? Okay. If there are no questions, Ramakrishna, we can repeat the whole verse and see if you are able to say it.
Yeah. pittā piṛaisūḍī perumāணē aruļāḻā ettāṉ maṛavādē niṇaikkiṇḍrēṉ maṉattu uṉணai vaittāy peṇṇait teṇbāl veṇணey nallūr aruṭṭuṟaiyuḻ attā uṇakku allāய் ini allēṉ eṇal āme.
Good. So I'm just wondering whether we should continue or whether we should stop here and continue next session. What do you think?
We'll do another two.
Okay. We will do one more and then we can probably listen to the padhigam. Okay, second one. You can repeat with me. nāyēṉ pala nāళum niṇaippiṇḍri maṇattu uṉணai peyaய் திரிந்தைத்தேன் பெறல் ஆகா அருள் பெற்றேன் வேயார் பெண்ணை தென்பால் வெண்ணெய் நல்லூர் அருட்ጡறையுள் ஆயா உனக்காளாய் இனி அல்லேன் eṇalāme. Good. So again, this is the whole padhigam is going to be like this. In every song, he is going to sing Shiva's attributes and praises and say, how can I claim that I am not your slave anymore? That is the refrain that you will see in every song. So nāyēṉ means when somebody describes himself in a very humble terms, in putting himself as the bottom of everything, is the lowliest of the low, that kind of thing, then they use the word nāyēṉ. Nāy means a dog. So nāyēṉ means a dog like me, meaning I'm of low quality. I'm I'm at the bottommost rung of everybody. That kind of it's an expression of humility. nāyēṉ. So like a very lowly person like me. Pala nāļum, on many days. Pala means many, nāļum means a day. Pala nāļum, for many days. niṇaippiṇḍri maṇattu uṉṇai, meaning uṉṇai maṇattu niṇaippiṇḍri. I did not think of you in my mind. So what he's saying is, I, a very unfit, lowly person, spent many days never thinking about you, never meditating on you, never thinking about you, with no thoughts of you. I spent many days. How? Peyāy tirindhu. Pey means like a ghost. Now that's basically somebody whose mind is crazy, is not going in the right path. So somebody who was not going in the right path, somebody who's like a ghost. So I was peyāy tirindhu. Tirindhu means to roam around, to wander, to roam around. Ettāṉ means I wasted my time, I suffered. So peyāy tirindhu. I wandered around like a ghost, wasting my time and suffering. So the nāyēṉ pala nāļum niṇaippiṇḍri maṇattu uṉṇai peyāy tirindhu means I was not having any thought of you for many days, and I was just going around in this world like a ghost, just going here, going there, doing things, without paying any attention to worshipping you. But such a person, what have I got now? Peral aga aruḻ petrēn. Aruḻ petrēn means I have received your grace. Aruļ is karuna, grace. Petrēn means I have received. How is that aruļ? That grace, is that easy to get? Getting Shiva's grace is not easy, in the sense that you have to be a true devotee, you have to worship. Only then you are fit for getting his grace. But since birth, I have spent all these years going around, not really thinking about you with true devotion. But such a person, I have got your grace now. So that grace is something that is very rare to get. Peral aga aruļ means the grace that is not easy to get. So I have got your grace that is not easy to get. And then Veyar peṇṇai teṉbāl veṇai nallūr aruṭṭuṟaiyuḻ āyā. So that is one phrase. Ayan means a cowherd. Somebody who takes care of the cows. Ayam is a cowherd, a group of cows, a herd of cows. And Ayan is the one who takes care of the cows. Cowherd. And here, as you know, the word Pashupati, this is what I am interpreting, right? So Pashu is, even though it is for any being, and Pati is the Lord. So the word Pashupati is probably what he means by Aya. Ayan means the cowherd. So here it is Pashupati. That kind of a interpretation I am making. So, O Lord, O Pashupati, who is dwelling in the aruṭṭuṛai temple in veṇṇey nallur, which is located on the southern banks of peṇṇai river, and that peṇṇai river has a lot of mungils floating in it. Vai or peṇṇai. Vai means bamboo, right? The bamboo is floating in the river. You can imagine in those days when there were no dams and when there is rain and other things, right? A lot of things will come when the floods come. A lot of things will come in the water. So he's saying the bamboos are floating in the river. Again, that is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that they probably were using the river to move things, right? Like bamboo and all that, they can tie into a bundle and throw into a river. It will flow with the river, come downstream. Wherever they need to take it, they can take it. So that way they could have been using the river as a means of transportation to move things like bamboos. So that's what is describing. Vai or peṇṇai means the peṇṇai river where bamboos are floating. That peṇṇai river, teṉbāl, on the southern bank of the peṇṇai river, veṇṇey nallūr aruṭṭuṟaiyuḻ, in the aruṭṭuṟai temple in the veṇṇey nallūr town, Aya, O Pasupati, uṇakku āڵāy, ini allēṉ eṇal. I am already a slave of you. I am already your slave. How can I claim now that I am not your slave? That's the meaning of the second song. If you have any comments or thoughts, we can discuss.
No, it's fine.
Okay. So you can repeat the whole verse and then we will stop there and we will listen to the Oduvar singing and then we will conclude.
Oh, okay. nāyēṉ பலநாளும் niṇaippiṇḍri maṉattu பேயாய் திரிந்து எய்த்தேன் பெறலாகா அருள் பெற்றேன் வேயார் பெண்ணாய்த் தென்பால் வெண்ணெய் நல்லூர் அருட்டுறையுள் ஆயா உனக்காளாய் இனி அல்லேன் எனலாமே.
Very good. Good. Excellent. I think you are able to say these words much more easily now. That's good.
Thanks. Thanks to you.
Good. Okay. Now we will listen to the Oduvar singing the padhigam.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. So with that we will conclude today, and next time we meet we will continue with song 3 onwards. Tiruchitrambalam.
Tiruchitrambalam. Thank you.